Right, welcome back to Casuals Encounters, episode 14. I would be joined by my co-host today, but he is not here due to a bunch of technical issues. But we do have a very special guest for our first guest episode. The very talented Jack Shaw. How you doing, my friend?
Yes, brother. All good. All good. Can't complain. Nice day outside today. So,
Of course, mate.
the mood's
Yeah,
good.
rare for you then in Wales.
Yeah, very rare. Very rare. We had about 4 weeks of rain, so nice to see a bit of sun.
Yeah. So I'm just going to ease into it. We talk a lot on our podcast about not really leaning into a lot of the fighting side and more into the personal side of things, because it's something a lot of people don't explore, and it's a lot of things we don't really see. Because a lot of the times people are so obsessed with performances inside the cage and how people are talking on the microphone. It's all sort of caught up in the fight game, right? So I just wanted to jump in just with some quick fire random questions, completely unrelated to MMA, just to ease us in. Shamelessly ripping off as a guy on Twitter who does a humanizing athlete series.
Yeah, I know
Alex.
Alex behind him.
Alex, have you done it with him?
Yeah, no, I know Alex. I'm quite friendly with Alex. Yeah.
Okay, well, you might get some of the questions similar to that. So I'm just going to throw just trade some words back and forth here. So, what's your favorite movie? Hit me with it.
Favorite movie? I'm quite a horror film geek, really, but I like the classic.
I like that.
I like the classic Halloweens and the newer one. Like the two of the last one was garbage, but the two before that I quite liked as well. So yeah, I watched one, chuck one on last night with a missus, so that's what's fresh in my head. So yeah, we'll go with the Halloweens.
Halloween's a good pick, actually. Classic. Okay, favorite game? You much of a gamer?
Yeah.
I like that.
It was Warzone. It still is Warzone, but dabbling in a bit of DayZ as well at the minute. So
big.
But I won't use like recency bias. I'll stick with Warzone probably for the favorite game.
Yeah, I mean it's just taken over, isn't it? You
Yeah,
get the new one or?
Yeah, probably. Well, I say I won't. I don't.
Yes,
at the minute I won't, but I probably will.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite artist, band, whatever you want. Solo act.
Favorite artist got to be Oasis or Liam Gallagher. I mean,
classic.
I got like quite a wide like variety of music taste. My playlist is a bit nuts. It'll go from
it's the same with mine.
Indie to gangster rap to country music in like 3 different songs. But if I had to lock down one in, it'd be Oasis. Yeah.
Oasis. Yeah, there's a lot of debate about Oasis and Blur. I saw a lot about that.
Fucking
who's
Blur.
Better? No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. I'm completely with you there. Favorite meal? That must be a good pick there.
Spaghetti bolognese, probably. Spaghetti bolognese. I would say pizza, but I think a class as more of like a cheat meal. So yeah, spaghetti bolognese. My mom's spaghetti bolognese. You can't beat it.
Can't not be a pasta man.
That's it.
Okay. Right. Favorite all-time fight? Just sort of segue into some MMA stuff.
Dan Henderson versus Shogun.
Shogun, yeah.
Number 1, number 2 is equally as good as well. But yeah, that's the one that always stands out.
So something I really wanted to explore, and this was what my co-host Will really wanted to get into as well, was you're big into the podcasting realm, and we've talked with Nathaniel Wood briefly about how he's expanding his sort of horizons out of the fight game, preparing for a life, without fighting. And I think that's ticking all the boxes, especially with what you're doing with the Tanked Up podcast. So what's that experience been like for you in terms of building that and stepping out of the cage and into something more media focused?
Yeah, it's been very enjoyable. It's a big learning process because, I've always been good in front of the camera in terms like with media, in interviews, VTs, and I had a lot of experience with Cage Warriors, again, then times that by 10 for the UFC. So I've always been used to like talking in front of the camera and giving interviews, but I've never actually never really appreciate how different a podcast is to host a podcast till you're actually on one. Because like number one, if there's someone you don't know a lot about, obviously you were the one asking the questions, you were the one trying to get them to open up a little bit, trying to dive a bit deeper. Because it can be a case sometimes you ask a question, you get a little one-word answer, and then it's easy to just move on to the next question, but sometimes it takes a little bit more to kind of drag some details out of people. So it's been that, and also I really enjoyed doing like the solo episodes as well, where like me and my co-host Joe will break down some fights, or we'll just talk about any old bullshit really, what's going on in the news, like fight rumors, just anything. And it's been really good and really enjoyable. I feel like every episode we do tends to get like a little bit better, and I'm a lot more confident now at there's little tricks and whatever that you pick up on the go. I find that helps you know what to say to kind of trigger an answer out of someone, or to get them to expand a little bit. And there's a certain way to go about things that kind of relaxes people and lets them feel like it's more like three guys just having a chat rather than,
Mm.
like a back and forth and like I'm interviewing them and they're answering the question. So I really enjoyed it. You know, it's a pleasure project. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not a big
Yeah, of
money
course.
spinner. I've always been into podcasts. I like when I'm training and stuff. I don't really listen. I very rarely listen to music. It tends to always be podcasts, and so it's something I've always dabbled with for a long time. And in all fairness, I got to give the credit to Joe, my co-host, because he had his own podcast before the Experience Reel, and I was looking for a videographer to come do some filming for me for my YouTube channel, and he messaged me and said, "Oh, I'll do it." And if you want to give me a go, I'll do it. So I said, "Yeah, what's your fee?" And he's like, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'll cut you a deal. I'll do the first few for free, but you got to start a podcast with me." And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I got time, but you find time, and you don't
You
need a
find
lot.
the
You
time,
don't
yeah.
need a lot of time, and I quite like as well that we've got a studio, so it's I don't want to sound like I'm knocking your podcast because we're doing it
No,
over
no, no,
Zoom,
mate.
but
Mate, that's what I was going to get into.
I enjoy like having someone there face to face because I feel like I can get them to open up a little bit more. I
Yeah,
feel like we can
exactly.
relate to each other a little bit more sometimes, and you can sense like the feel in the room. So I really enjoy it. It's something I do enjoy doing, and I feel like we're going from strength to strength. Hopefully, we can turn it into a money maker. Where we get a sponsor, or we get I don't know, we sign a fucking broadcasting deal, like a fight pass deal or something like that. You
Yeah,
never
of
know, do
course.
you? But for now, it's purely like out of enjoyment, and it's something I'm enjoying doing.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you there in the sense that having someone in person, you can really sort of build that chemistry, get them to open up. I completely agree with you. And that's something we're trying to explore ourselves. And I think you're really just on the right track in that regard because we've said before about getting ahead of the competition and being in the sort of space in the media space, particularly around MMA, not just podcasting, but YouTube in general, just before everyone else is doing it. Because I feel like, particularly in the UK, MMA is really blowing up right now, and now is the time to jump on that train. And I think, you know, coming from us who are really, obviously we're just normal people. You guys are the fighters. I think you
Mhm.
guys have a sort of edge there to really
Yeah,
build upon.
yeah.
So
Well,
I think
that's
you're
it.
ticking all the right boxes.
That's it. That is the one benefit. Obviously, like anyone can start a podcast. It's not hard as long as you got a camera and a couple of microphones and someone who's willing to chat to. It's not an hard thing to do. I mean, I think there is a skill to having a successful one in terms of letting the conversation flow or whatever. But we're fortunate, obviously, that I have got a following and I am a UFC fighter, so that people who
Does help.
support me are naturally going to tune in and watch what I'm saying anyway. But it feels now like it does feel like we probably got a core of, I'd say, probably 1,000 to 2,000 viewers that watch every episode, regardless
That's great.
whether it's about me, about fighting, or whether it's about
About
whether it's a
anything.
like we've had guests on, we've had mental health coaches on, we've had rappers on, obviously we've had fighters on. We've had a wide variety of guys who do a lot of different things. Being up for boxers. So it feels like we've got like a core audience now, and obviously we want that to build, and the bigger that gets, the better. You always pull in extra views on guys who can get with big names, but you need those core viewers and those core supporters to kind of like keep it stable and make sure it's worth doing, because as good as enjoyable as it is, I don't know if I'd be too bothered about doing it if we was pulling in 200 views an episode, you know what I mean, or 100 views an episode. So it's good. I enjoy it, and obviously we're fortunate that I can help push it on a little bit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, you said it perfectly. I don't have a little more to say on that, but there was something I actually did want to mention because obviously when I emailed you, I mentioned I was at two of your fights when you fought Amakani at 286 and Valiev at the first London card in a while, and I actually just missed you because you were taking pictures with fans after that first fight against Valiev, and
Yeah,
someone said on the train you were there, and I was like, damn. I just missed Jack Shaw, but now full circle we're here because that was a year ago, and now I'm crazy in this content space, and this is where things go. And I think it's just about starting stuff up, right? I mean, I'm sure that's what came with you in the podcast. You wouldn't really imagine where you've come to, and with fighting as well.
yeah.
You're at a point now where obviously you moved up to featherweight, at a point where you're sort of still teetering on that top 15. So where do you go next? Obviously, you're now a father, which I'll get into. and obviously you coming back from injury and surgery. So what's the next step for you in the fight game?
I'm in a bit of a tricky spot because obviously where we're in now is September now, but we just come out of August, and realistically, I'm probably not going to be ready to fight until March or April because of the surgery. So, it's great for me to say I want to fight this guy and I want to fight that guy, and then get into the top 15. But obviously, a lot of things can chop and change in the next 6 months before I end up
Yeah.
fighting. So I kind of don't like when guys do that, because I think you can set yourself up for a bit of a pitfall or something. You can call a guy out, but he may lose 2 fights in the space of time, and then it's like, it's not really worth it. But obviously, I wanna get back as soon as I can. So I spoke to the doctors and stuff like that. It's probably looking like March or April, best case. So for me, I've got 2 fights left on my UFC contract, so it would be great if I could get 2 very good wins. Wherever I'm not saying those are going to be ranked guys straight away. I know the division's deep. I've only just had one win there, so 2 good wins, and we see where we go heading towards a new contract, and maybe look at the rankings then. But I'm 28. I've been around the game a long time. I've been fighting a long time, and I know how things go in the fight game. It's not as simple as I want to fight this guy on this date, and it happens. There's a lot of moving parts.
It's complicated.
But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to stay as fit and as active as I can at the minute, but we're just kind of waiting on this hand. So it's hard for me to really look past that just yet.
Yeah. So how does, as I said, you become a father recently? Has that changed your outlook at all on fighting? Because obviously, at the end of the day, it is a combat sport. There are dangers that come with that, and having a child is obviously going to. I mean, I'd imagine that would affect your mindset in some regard, because that's your life you've got to look after, and there's one more sort of in your circle now. So how's that affected you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been a guy anyway that have said I don't want to fight forever. I always said to myself I'd retire at 30. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. Just is a little bit close, but I'm not going to be one of these guys. I don't think who's 35, 40 still fighting for money. I've been smart with my money. I've not spent a lot of it. I've looked after myself and set myself up nice. That I kind of everything I make now can kind of just add to the pile. So it's not something I want to do forever. Obviously, like you said, there is dangers. There's brain trauma. There's obviously the chance of you could break a leg. I could break a leg. I go to my next fight, break a leg, and I can't fight for you. That's another year I've got to go about providing for my son. So, it does give you a different outlook on it, and also, I appreciate now how precious time is with him. You know what I mean? And I'm not in a fight camp at the minute, so when I am in a fight camp, I would have to be a little bit more selfish with my time, and there isn't as much flexibility where I'm kind of like, he's awake now, so I'll stay for an extra hour. I can just go to the gym later. Obviously, in a fight camp, there's set sessions we got to make. There's set things that got to be done. So it'll all depend how it goes when I get into camp and stuff like that. I'll see and manage like how my time is with him, and I'm getting as much time as I want. I think that'll probably influence me further. I mean, it's easy going at the minute because I haven't got to worry about a fight. But we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, on the flip side of that is I want to fight as often as possible and make as much money as possible for him, because I've set myself up. I want to set him up so that he's got a really good start in life. So, it's one of them. It does change your outlook on things. Also, I'm not just doing it now for me. I've got, like we said, when I brought him from the hospital, you've gone from looking after yourself, me and my missus, to like there's another living, breathing human in the house now.
Another living person,
that I'm solely responsible for keeping alive and making sure he's all right and has a good life. So there is that to consider, But it's changed my outlook. But obviously, I think it'll be more of a not decision, but I'll have a better outlook and a better idea on it when I do go into a fight camp, and I've got to kind of go back to being a little bit more selfish.
And obviously, that's going to be a new experience for you as well, because you haven't been in fight camp properly, unless I'm mistaken, since your wife's given birth. So, imagine that must be quite a daunting experience. But I would that not surge you on, perhaps? Do you think? There's extra motivation there, right?
Absolutely, of course it is, because like I just said, everything I do and earn now is for him. So, the motivation is there in that sense. I'm just. Time is precious, and they don't he's 6 weeks old already, and it's gone by in the blink of an eye, and time doesn't wait around for no man. It goes very fast. So it's you got to weigh it up. you got to weigh like as much as I want to fight and be as active as possible to make everything for him and give him the world. I still got to weigh up, but I also don't want to miss him growing up either. So there is extra motivation, but there's also I got to think about things now. You know what I mean? I got to think if they ask me to go and fight in, let's say, Singapore or Vegas, then that's 10 days I'm going to have away from him. So I'm going to have to go and acclimatize and stuff like that, which is not something I'm going to be wanting to do 2 or 3 times a year. But, you know, at the same time, if those fights can pull me in a little bit more money than maybe a fight in London, then you got to weigh it up. But it's interesting times. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to touch on, just going back into the media side of things. So obviously you've got your podcast. Is there anything else you're looking at expanding into? Obviously progressing your YouTube channel. As I said about Nathaniel Wood, he's got his own sort of clothing line and subscription service with Prospect Academy and Prospect Apparel. Is there anything you're looking into sort of in that space?
Yeah, I'm just trying to plug away with the YouTube, obviously. Like, again, my YouTube, other than the podcast, is not as busy at the minute because I'm not doing a great deal worth people watching unless they want to watch me run the roads every morning and jump on the cross trainer in the night. But, yeah, I mean, like, I've just come back from London on the weekend. I work for TNT Sport doing a watch party.
I saw that.
I've worked for, like, BT and BBC doing commentary and stuff like that in the past. So that's something I do enjoy and something I feel like I have got a knack for. Like I speak well. I don't get flustered in front of a camera. I'm pretty good at. I've got a good eye for fighting, so I can break things down. Like we did it with Nick Pete, Rob Beckett, and Blake Harrison. So obviously I was the only fighter there per se. Although all three of them are very knowledgeable in the fight. I think they kind of brought me in to give a little bit of a technical look on it, and I feel like I do very well with that, and I do enjoy doing it. And the pay was good as well, so that's something that
of course
that's something that I would obviously I'd love to get into. It was even commentary, like live commentary, like see former fighters like Bisping, Cruz,
that sounds great.
Felder. I even about people like Bilal and stuff are starting to get into the analysis role now. That's something I'd be more than interested in doing more of. It's something I enjoy and something I feel like comes quite naturally to me. Like believe it or not, I'm actually quite an introverted person. Like I don't really like speaking in public or speaking in front of people. But if you ask me to break down a fight in front of a room full of people, I wouldn't even have to think about it. I could do it off the top of my head. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of like clothing brands and stuff like that, it's not something I'm passionate about. So it's not something I wouldn't do anything unless my head was in it for the right reason. I wouldn't just do it as a money spinner to hopefully try and make money, make a quick bit of money and bounce out of there. Like, I haven't like Brett John's my teammate. He loves fashion, so it wouldn't be a surprise to me at all if he ended up doing a clothing brand. Whereas I haven't got that same passion, but I have got a passion for breaking. Like the podcast.
Yeah, of course.
That's become a passion now. I got a passion for gaming, so I don't mind jumping on Twitch and doing some stuff like that now and then when I get a time. But ultimately, it all comes like the traction from that all comes from being a fighter anyway. So it's kind of like for now, I feel like I've got to prioritize that and all these little side ventures. I just find time from what I can and think, if the fighting's not working, they ain't not going to work.
Yeah, you've got to branch out. Yeah, I think so. Commentary desk on the future is the future for you. Then I could see that.
Yeah, maybe not even like commentary. Maybe like when they shoot back in the studio and you've got like yes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I know like Nick Pete and Adam Cattrall, they do like the BT. Oh, it's not BT now. It's TNT and but
TNT.
They do like the weigh-in breakdown show, and then they do the broadcast. Like they kind of have their own little desk for the fights. I think that's something I could see myself going into, and something I feel like I'd be good at as well. I don't feel like I would have to, sit there and study and practice it. I feel like it would come very naturally.
I think that's something we need a bit more of in terms of particularly the European scene. That's something we talk about a lot is, the progression of the UK and as I said, the European scene, just in the, not just on the sports side of things, but in the media in general, just an overall push of that further. And I think the fact that you represent Wales as well is such a big bonus because there's obviously, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's just you and Corey McKenna and Oban Elliott, obviously.
Oban's just series. Well,
yeah. So does that come with, do you feel like you have an extra sense of pride with that? I sort of feel it as well because I've got half Welsh heritage in me. I feel that,
Yeah, massively. Like, it can sound a bit dickish, but when people are like,
I get it.
Like people are like, are you from the UK? And I'm like, no, but I am, but I'm from Wales. And then they're like, especially something like, oh, where's Wales at? Wales in England? I'm like, no. Wales is
Yeah,
a
they don't
separate
know.
country. That's why I'm proud to wear the flag when I can, because we are only I'm even comes down like I'm probably more proud to represent my small little town than anything, because like now when people hear the town Abertillery, they associate it with Jack Shaw, and that's like
That's
I
great.
feel very proud of that 90% of people, a lot bigger than that, 99% of people in the UK have probably never heard of the place. But if you're not from Abertillery, you've probably heard of it because of me or because of Jack Marshman a couple of years ago. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud to show like that. My father and my gym and my
Of
coaches have,
course.
have produced three fighters, and gone to the highest level of competition in the world. Gone to the Premier League of MMA.
Yeah.
Um, from a town of 30,000 where we get zero backing from the council and zero backing from anyone. We're not even recognised as a sport in Wales, which is nuts.
That's wild.
So it's like to be able to show like, well, we've kind of just give them the finger really and been like, well, look, you think what you want to think. This is what we're going to do, and it gives me a big sense of pride. Also, I'm very proud to be Welsh, very proud Welshman, but especially when it comes to the town, I'm proud to be from where I'm from. It gets a bad rap, this town. There's a lot of shit goes on here that people want to almost slag us off for, but there's a lot of positive as well, and I like to think that can be a bit of a positive light on it then, rather than
Of
the
course.
negative all the time.
I think there's a testament to how good your team is, in the sense that with so little sort of notoriety and resources, you've able to, conjure not one but three fighters in the UFC, as you said, and that's such an incredible achievement because there's so many gyms with far more resources who can't do that, and I think I just want to sort of give you that praise there, particularly to you and your father, because it's such a incredible achievement from such a small town, and there's a big contrast there that I wanted to touch on as well. Is how's been that sort of transition over the last year since you've joined the UFC and coming in from Cage Warriors, from going from such a sort of small town into sort of notoriety and money and fighting in front of thousands? How have you sort of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the right word to use, or waded your way through that, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been it's kind of an hard one to get your head around, because obviously, like when I was in Cage Warriors, I had like a cult following in Wales, so like everyone in Wales knew who I was, but it was nowhere near on the scale. Like even in Wales, if you watch Cage Warriors, you probably like the UFC, or you just knew me as a person. Whereas like in the UFC, there's people in Wales now that know me because they've seen me in the UFC and thought, oh, who's the Welsh guy? Like, you know what I mean? So it can get hectic. Like I'd done like a meet and greet up in London on the weekend, and there was like 100+ people there, and that's in London, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's 4 hours where I'm from. So it is a mad, like I'll be out with the missus shopping on for food, and people asking for pictures, or asking me when am I fighting next. Like people I don't even know asking me how my hand is, how's your injury. So it is a mad one to get your head around, but I'm quite a down to earth guy. I like to think, I'm not ever going to be one of these guys who like is gonna, I don't know, like be stuck up my own ass and be like, you can't speak, I'm not giving you the time of day because I'm in the UFC. I try to give, within reason, I try to give everyone as much time as I can, without leaving my missus on the table on
Of
her own for
course,
20
yeah.
minutes. I try to say, if anyone wants to pay, I've never said no to a picture. I've never like rude. I've never ignored anyone. Don't be wrong. You go out for a drink sometimes and have a couple of boys who had a little bit too much to drink, want to have a 45-minute conversation with you, and you have to kind of tell them like, boys,
It's
like
not what you want.
I got to get back to my mates. I got to get back to my missus. Like, but other than that, I mean, it's been good. It's part of the job. It's stuff
Yeah,
you
of
dream
course,
of.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you're a kid and you dream of being in the UFC, that's something you dream of with it. You don't just dream of fighting the best guys in the world and making good money. You dream of like, oh, people want your autograph and people want pictures and people know who you are. It can be a little bit draining sometimes. I will be honest. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, not and not for anyone's fault, but obviously like you can go on a night out and everyone has got this same energy of like, oh, it's Jack, have a picture, can I have, and yeah, I would never let them know it's draining, but it can be draining. Sometimes I'll avoid certain places. I think I'm just going to have a bit of aggro there, where it's just going to be people constantly on me. But I always roll pretty deep on a night out. Anyway, I've always got a good bunch around me who can kind of form like the wall of steel around me, and if someone's choking me for a little bit too long, we give them a polite little nudge and be like, "Come on,
That's good.
you've had your time." But no, it is what it is. You know, it's part of the job. If
Yeah.
if I didn't want to say, all right, and have a chat with people and have pictures with people, I'm in the wrong business. You know, like could always be worse. Like with people like Paddy and McGregor, like they got 24/7
Yeah. Gosh, I
security.
couldn't
Like
even.
Paddy can't leave the house now probably without the security guy with him telling people to kind of stay back. So it could be not. I mean, it could. I don't mean it could be worse. It's great for him. He's made multi-millions from it, obviously, being
Yeah.
so popular. But you know that would stress me out.
Yeah.
I think having to wait for a security van to pick me up every time I wanted to pop the Tesco.
Yeah, I think there's two sides to that coin because, as you said, the humility of being able to interact with your fans and not losing sight of that, I think is really important. And I think that's such a great thing that you sort of held on to that as you sort of come through the UFC and risen in notoriety and fame. But I think at the same time, as you said, you need to value your own needs, and I think that is important regardless of how famous you might be, regardless of how many followers you've got, etc. I think valuing your own time is far more important, and you should be able to set those boundaries. So I think that's a really healthy balance that you have.
Yeah, like I like my fans to feel like I call us like the JSA, the actual
Yeah,
army.
JSA, of course.
I like them to feel like they know me personally. You know, I like to feel like I want them to not just feel like, oh, it's a guy I follow and support online. I want them to feel like, you know, I know him well, and they, you know, I want them to be like emotionally invested, like how I am when my friends fight and when my family members fight. I'm in it, and that's how I feel like a lot of them feel about me, which is why I think I've got such I don't think sometimes the UFC especially don't maybe realize how much of a cult following I got. Like the twice I've fought in London, you know, there's
Yeah,
been over 5, 6, 700 Welsh guys in the crowd, probably close to 1,000 odd, if I'm honest. And it's like, obviously that gets like not swept under the carpet, but when there's 20,000 people in the arena, you don't see it. But like, I'd be comfortable now if they said to me, "Could you sell us a 10,000 seater in Cardiff?" I think I could do it no problem.
I think you could do it.
I did a 5,000 seater when I was the Cage Warriors champion, and I didn't take a lot of effort. You know, that was 4 years ago. That was before the worldwide audience. So I've got like a massive following, and I feel like they all feel like they know me, or at least I like to try and make them feel like they know me on a personal level. And I try and get back on the messages and you know whatever. But yeah, it's like you said, you got to have the balance as well. You can't
Of course, yeah.
constantly be giving your time up because then you have no time for yourself and the people close to you. But I feel like I've got it nailed down, to be honest.
I think you actually it strikes me as that when you say about thousand, like 1,000 Welsh strong in the O2, it reminds me of every time I've been there. Gunnar Nelson, he's fought on both times. He's got the insane sort of Icelandic pull,
Yeah,
and there's just
yeah.
a big section of them, and you can hear them because they do the clap thing,
Clap,
and
yes.
they stick out. Yeah, it's great. So I think there's something that comes with that, as I said about being Welsh and being able to represent Wales. It's almost like a intrinsic bonus that you have because you're such a small pocket of fighters that there's a bigger pop there just sort of in that circle. And I think that transitions to your fans as well, because I think it's the same sort of parallel of being more personable. There's a smaller group of just core fans who will ride and die with you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I think as well, you know, they don't look at me as like this big internet personality where like, you know, I'm Don Prawn and act like how you see me on camera is how you'd speak to me in Tesco or in a bar. I'm unapologetically, I am who I am, and I want change. I
That's
don't
good.
care if people tell me I should do this more, I should do less of this, more of that. I couldn't give a fuck. No, I am who I am. If you like it, great. If you don't, you don't. So I think that's why people can relate to me so much because I am almost like just one of the boys, just like a normal guy. I like to think you see online. I've never let it go to my head. I've never like done strut around thinking I'm this, that, and the other. I've been the same my whole life, and that's how I'll always be. So I think that's why it becomes so relatable for people.
I think I just because we're running out of time here, and I don't want to keep you too long.
But
Just
we're
as a
good for
final
a
sort
couple more
of
minutes. We're good.
okay, well, just good as a last question or two. You say about being normal and sort of just being a regular guy. I want to ask you the most regular question of all time. I'm shamelessly ripping this off from Happy Hour podcast, so shout out to them. But I also want to ask this to Arnold Allen because he is huge on it as well. What is your favorite like go-to meal deal combination? You must be big on meal deals.
Yeah. Like having fought, I really like Arnold. I'm a big fan of Arnold.
Yeah,
I speak to him quite
who's
regularly.
not?
So like he's really opened my mind up to the different type of meal deal
Oh,
combos that are out there. But I'm quite boring to be honest. Like so,
okay.
my usual go-to if I went to Tesco now and I had to buy a meal deal, it would be chicken and bacon sandwich. Just keep it simple.
Okay,
Don't
that's all
want no
right.
like nothing fancy, just enough to fill the gap. Um, it will probably be a Monster Zero, like a white Monster or a
Of
bottle of water.
course.
Probably the Monster, because I'm a bit addicted to Monsters. I gotta be honest. Like if I'm being transparent and
You
honest, like
need
I
that
just went
energy.
on.
You need the
Yeah,
caffeine. I get
yeah,
it. I
it'd
get
be the
it.
Monster, and it would either be like the chicken satay sticks, or it would be a grenade
Oh,
bar.
good shout.
It would be a
Grenade
grenade
bar's
bar.
a good shout too.
Yeah, it'd be one of those. It's very boring. I know. Arnold will
That's
come
not
out.
too bad. I've
Arnold
heard
will come out
worse.
with like the sushi and like the naked
Yeah.
drinks and all that. So, but he's a bit more of a connoisseur than I am. You know what I
He
mean?
is.
I'm not a regular meal dealer. It's like, it's more convenient for me,
Yeah.
and something I can eat whilst I'm driving in the car. And I think their selections are nice and simple, and nice
Yeah.
and easy. Just bang it down the arch, chuck the rubbish on the floor, and then we deal with it later.
Yeah. How does that work around nutrition? Obviously, they're not the healthiest things, so I'm sure you can't be about it too much.
Yeah, that's it. Again, it's not like a fight. In fight camp, I'm
Yeah.
kind of like I just got. It's more of a like out the camp. Been a little bit lethargic and I haven't done the meal prep properly like I should have. All right, let's pop the Tesco and let's
Yeah.
grab
Why
something to eat.
not?
And then
It's
it's like
easy.
a chicken and bacon and a grenade. But there's worse things I could pick. You know what I mean? I could be in McDonald's. I could be in Greg's.
That's
I
very
could
true.
be.
Oh wow, you can't. I can't resist the Greg's. I don't
Yeah,
think I
I
could.
know.
Even
I
if I was
know.
in your
I
position,
know. I
steak
fucking love.
bake, mate. I'm all
I
over
love
it.
a Greg's as
I'm all
well.
over it.
But it's the lesser of two evils. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I got you. Yeah, well, I don't want to keep you too long, as I said. So, thank you so much. This is our first episode. You have the honor of being that. So,
I'll have that for life now, won't I? Hello,
you have
Craig will be
exactly
the
have that
first
for
guest.
life. You have that for life. So, this has been Casuals Encounters. I'm Leo. It's a shame we don't have Will with us today. This has been Jack Shaw. Thank you for coming on, mate.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Top man, thanks for having me, and good luck with the future guests as well. I'm sure
Lovely.
it'll
Thank
go
you, mate.
well.
Cheers. Right. See you every Monday, each week. Cheers.